Congressman, thank you so much for sitting down with me and allowing me to tell my story, which has been a dream of mine for a long time to just speak to Congress about it.
Well, thank you for your courage and your love for this country.
Absolutely. On March 24th, 1967, I was part of a two-man crew assigned to what we called Oscar Flight. It was near Roy, Montana, about 100 miles to the east of Great Falls, Montana. And what we would do on these tour of duties, 24-hour period tour of duty, we would go out and monitor our missile systems, which we had at that time 10 Minuteman I ICBMs, all targeted, ready to go, if given the order, of course, by the president, and to make sure that they were in an operational mode and ready to go. We had 6 security people upstairs, security guards, and we were underground. So I wanted to show you a couple of diagrams just so we'll get the right reference. So this is a cutaway.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Cutaway of the what we call launch control facility. And you see that capsule underground?
Yes.
That's where we were located as a crew. And that we had all the equipment down there that was needed.
So the buildings on top just look like simple buildings?
They were just for the security people we had upstairs. So there were rooms, bedrooms for them and their facilities. But we, as a crew, a launch crew, were located 60 feet underground.
Okay.
And we were locked in for 24 hours. We could not open that big...
And where are the missiles in relation to where this facility
so the missiles were about a mile or two.
Okay.
In a kind of a circular area. I'll show you another little map here. So, for example...
Okay.
Here's Oscar 1. Those are the big black dots. Those are the launch control facilities. We had about 15 for Minuteman I at the time in 1967. And here are the missiles. You see the 02, 03, 04, where the missiles were actually located. Those were called launch facilities. And they look like this.
Okay.
So here's the missile silo. These are maintenance bays.
Okay.
And this was concrete and steel.
A cap.
Kind of a cover, a cover of the silo.
Okay.
And during the launch sequence, this would automatically retract on rails, on a railing system.
Mm-hmm.
And if it got stuck for some reason, we had explosive means to remove it.
Okay.
So sometime in the evening of March 24th, my commander was taking a rest break. We had a little bed down there, a little cot where we took a rest break because we were on alert status 24 hours. So I was in charge of the facility. I was officer in charge. Sometime in the evening, I can't remember exactly the time, but it was dark out. I get a phone call from my topside guard, which we call the flight security controller. And he said, sir, we've been seeing lights in the sky flying right over the facility. Can't make out any kind of control surfaces or any engines. There's no engine noise. There's simply lights in the sky doing very odd maneuvers, like flying extremely fast, stopping on a dime, reversing course, making 90-degree turns. And he kept repeating, these are not aircraft, sir. They're not aircraft. This was a serious report. He wasn't trying to pull a joke or a hoax or anything. And I said, "You mean like UFOs?" Because I brought that up because we had actually had reports in the Great Falls Tribune in the city of Great Falls.
Okay.
We'd had reports of people reporting lights in the sky. And he said, "Sir, they are not aircraft." I repeat, he kept repeating that. I said, "Okay, well, thank you for your report." Basically ended the call. I didn't know what else to do with that call. 5 minutes later, he calls back. This time he is very agitated. He's frightened. I can tell by his voice he's quite frightened. He's babbling, yelling into the phone. Mm-hmm. I try to calm him down, and finally he says, "Sir, I've got all the guards out. Their weapons are pointed at this reddish-orange object that's hovering right above the front gate." Our front gate was about, I'd estimate, about 12 feet tall. And so this light, this bright red-orange light, was hovering right above the front gate. And he said, "What do I do, sir?" Well, of course, this was something I had never encountered. And basically I told him, make sure the facility is secure. Do whatever you have to make sure everything is secure. But now I was concerned because of his tone and the fact that this was serious now because all the guards were out there with their weapons. So I said, "Do what you have to, secure the facility." He said, "Yes, sir," and hung up. He also mentioned that one of the guards got injured. This had nothing to do with the object. It had to do with a possibility of he tried to fire his weapon at it and fell down, injured his hand in some way, a big cut on his hand, or possibly he grabbed barbed wire that was around the facility.
Oh, wow.
But at any rate, it was serious enough where we did send him back to the base hospital. So after that, we ended the call. I looked over at our board. We have a status board that shows the status of each missile. And they were all green, ready to launch. And then I went over to tell my commander about these phone calls. He was just waking up from his rest break. And before I could tell him, we got a loud horn in the capsule, which we knew what that meant. It meant that one of the missiles had a problem. So we look over at the board. Sure enough, one of them went from green to red. Red meaning no-go or unlaunchable.
Okay, one of them.
But the rest of them went from green to red very quickly thereafter. So within a few seconds, all 10 of them were down. Unlaunchable. We did have, we had never seen that before. I was there for 3 years as my commander. We never experienced anything like that in the 3 years I was there. This was very unusual. The system is very reliable. We had triple redundancy on power.
That's what I was going to ask. So, you had power on site, or power generation on site?
Used commercial power on site and at the launch facilities.
Right.
And if that went down, they had generators that would automatically kick on. And if those were down, they had batteries. Each launch facility had batteries. Yeah. But we did have triple redundancy. We had a way of querying the system. We called it VERSA, but that stands for voice recognition systems analysis or something like that. But what it would tell us is basically what the problem was. And when we queried each missile, they all had the same message: guidance and control system failure.
Okay.
These were inertially guided missiles. In other words, we didn't have GPS satellites at the time, right? And we did have equipment on board the missile that would determine its path, its direction, and speed, all that, to the target. So the next thing that happened is my commander called the wing command post to report the incident. And I called upstairs because I had to send security teams out to two of the launch facilities that had incursion lights illuminated, meaning something might have been at those facilities. Again, they were about a mile or two away. And I asked, of course, about this red-orange light, and he said it had just flown off. But it was there when the missiles went.
Wow. So they went down. Then what happened? You reported up the chain?
We reported it, and they organized maintenance crews to come out there. However,
Did they come back online by themselves, or
no, they do not, sir.
Okay.
No, because the targeting process has to be checked, and that's kind of an intricate process. It takes a little time. But the main point I want to make here is there was no equipment that was damaged in any way. So the maintenance people that went out there, and
so it's just kind of shut down, but not damaged.
What?
You had to reset it and then reconfigure them.
Right.
Is what I mean.
Make sure the targeting was correct and everything was working properly. But nothing in the form of hardware was damaged. We had no damage in the capsule. And by the way, we never lost power.
Oh, the rest of it, the lights didn't go out or anything.
The lights didn't go out. The missiles themselves.
Which is why the claim that it was an EMP doesn't hold any water, because
not at all.
Why did all this other electrical circuitry not get fried?
Exactly. If there was a proper EMP test done, it would have produced about 7 million volts of electricity, which would have fried the equipment we had. Anyway, it was never done because.
So have you heard the story that we heard today from George Knapp about this happening in Russia, a very similar scenario?
Of course.
But in Russia, apparently they turned them on.
Exactly. They started the launch sequence on their missiles, and at the last moment, stopped the launch of those missiles. They not the Russians, but this object.
So the UAP started it and then stopped it. The Russians didn't have any. They didn't.
And I have another witness who I've spoken with for years. And if you do get subpoena power, I would recommend you to bring this guy in. But he actually was one of the maintenance people who went out to the Echo flight. I didn't mention Echo yet. Let me go back a little bit. After my commander reported to the command post, he hung up the phone, turned to me, and said the same thing happened at another flight. The same thing happened to us. Just happened at another. Well, I thought it happened that evening. As it turns out, that was what we call the Echo flight incident. I was at Oscar.
It happened at Oscar and Echo.
It happened at Echo flight 8 days earlier. 8 days earlier, March 16th. But again, it involved UFOs over missile sites seen by maintenance and security guards. And that witness is also still living, as far as I know. His name is Walter Fiegel. I can give you his contact information. He didn't want to come forth publicly, even though I sent him the FOIA documents that I received. He agreed to speak to me by telephone and have the conversation recorded, so I could give you a copy of that conversation where he confirms that his 10 missiles were also shut down during UFO sightings.
But he hasn't come forward.
He hasn't voluntarily come forward.
His name is out there. I'm assuming because you said it.
Because I've said it, yeah. So, just to finish my incident, we reported it, and then, and again, I could not go upstairs to take a look at this object because of security concerns of keeping that capsule secure, that underground capsule, because if we had been overtaken by some terrorist group, right, they could have had access to those weapons. Yeah, none of those gentlemen that were up there, the security guards, have come forward. I haven't been able to contact them. A lot of them I know were sent to Vietnam because they were weapons qualified. The Air Force has a tendency to disperse witnesses whenever they can after something like this.
Put them in a different town, give different job.
Yes.
And they do that all over the country, so they kind of, people don't talk to each other.
Exactly. So we were relieved the next morning. I went upstairs and talked to that security guard that I'd been in contact with by phone. I asked him to tell me again what he saw, and at first he didn't want to talk to me. I finally had to pull rank, but I think he was already told that he can't talk to anybody about this, including us. We were ordered back to the base. They sent a helicopter out for us, helicoptered back, ordered to our squadron commander's office, who, by the way, was an old B-17 pilot, World War II, old salt of the earth guy, Colonel George Eldridge. We walk into his office. The first thing I say is, was this some kind of an Air Force exercise? Testing our reaction.
That would be the most likely scenario.
Yeah. He said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. This was not an Air Force exercise. There was another man with him from AFOSI, Air Force Office of Special Investigations. And he shoved a piece of paper at us, said, sign here. I said, what's this? It's a non-disclosure agreement. You're never to talk about this to anyone under penalty of a lot of time in Leavenworth prison.
I've had to sign a couple of those. It's not fun. It's pretty. I think it's designed to be intimidating.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what he did. He intimidated us. We signed them. I didn't speak about it for about 27 years. And I want to go over why I thought I was able to speak about it. In 1994, I picked up this book, Above Top Secret by Timothy Good. I found the title interesting, so I picked it up off the shelf in a bookstore in Seattle, Washington. This is the book I picked up. I happened to open it up to page 301, which I've got tagged here. And you can see that there's only a small paragraph here, but this paragraph talks about missiles being shut down at Malmstrom Air Force Base.
So did somebody else report
during a
that?
UFO sighting? So I thought, this is published in a book being sold to the public. The Air Force must have declassified it. Anyway, that's the conclusion I jumped to. And so immediately I went home and told my wife. that this incident did happen. I was part of it because it describes what I hazily recalled at that time. I remember 27 years had gone by, and a lot of water under the bridge. I had forgotten some of the details on purpose. I know you've had access to classified. I've had classified access. And the best thing to do with that information is, if you're not using it, is to forget it, right? You don't want to reveal anything classified.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it helps in the decision matrix, right? If any kind of decisions that come forward, but yeah, you're right.
So I consciously or subconsciously forgot a lot of the details. I did remember the basic incident, but I forgot who my commander was. But I started doing some research, talking to people I knew in the Air Force and making contacts. But I thought this was my incident.
Yeah.
And so I got a hold of, and I thought it'd be declassified because here it was in a book. I can go into that in detail further, but the next thing I did was to contact an investigator for the Mutual UFO Network,
MUFON, yeah.
And asked for an investigator to assist me in filing a FOIA request to the Air Force.
Okay.
Which we did. But I told him, don't say anything about UFOs. The Air Force writes back and says, essentially, this incident is still classified. However, since it's been so long, we're going to declassify it. Mm-hmm. The Air Force declassified what turned out to be the Echo flight incident. I was thinking I might have been at Echo flight at the time of the incident because at times we did substitute in from different squadrons. We had 3 squadrons. I was in the 490th. Echo's in the 10th squadron. But at any rate, the Air Force started sending us documentation, FOIA documentation. They declassified the incident and marked unclassified now on all the documents they sent me. A lot of them are in this book I gave you, Faded Giant.
Okay. This book here.
Yes. And
so when you described the object and the lights, but did you see a shape? Like an overarching shape?
I never saw anything. I did ask the guard upstairs when I talked to him.
Yeah.
Try to look inside. Actually, on the phone, I asked him, try to look inside the bright light. He said it was very bright, hard to see.
Right.
Anything internal to the light, but he made the effort and said generally there was some kind of a object there that was oval shaped.
Oval shaped.
Those are the words he used. Yeah.
Interesting. I've heard of this story multiple times. It's one of the top stories that people talk about. One of the most important UAP events that in the history of the United States. Probably next to Roswell. And you were there.
Yes, I was there.
That's amazing.
Okay, so Air Force declassifies the Echo incident. I still think it was the incident I was involved in. And so I went public. I went on the Art Bell show in 1996. As a result of that, a man by the name of Robert Kaminsky, who was head of the Boeing investigative team that looked into this, contacted me, said, I know a lot about this. He ran the investigation for Boeing. Boeing was the top contractor on the Minuteman system. And he wrote us a long letter. He says that his team, they looked at everything from lightning to...
right.
He could find no good reason for this to happen. However, later on, we did talk to 2 Boeing engineers who did a bench test on what's called the logic coupler. The logic coupler, think of it as an onboard computer that would take information from the accelerometers, velocity meters, the guidance equipment that we had on board, such as gyroscopes.
Yeah.
It would take that data and calculate whether or not the missile was on track, the target.
Okay.
So if you could think of it like that. And they did a bench test on this logic coupler, and they found out that with a particular signal, frequency, and duration, they could upset momentarily the logic coupler.
Okay.
In other words, make it inoperable for a short time.
Okay. Through a particular frequency.
I've got that data.
Is it like an audible thing, or is it?
No, it's a signal.
A signal. Okay, so like a just in the light wave
No, sir.
phenomenon, or what kind of
This is
signal?
an electrical pulse,
Okay.
electrical signal.
Okay.
They were able to interfere with the operation of the logic coupler with this signal on a bench test. So they had this logic coupler on a bench, inserted the signal, and they concluded this could have caused the missile to shut down for guidance failure. But they concluded that they could not possibly imagine a way that this signal could have been inserted externally. But it was, they concluded, again, this is all in the documentation, that some external signal was sent to each missile within seconds. The missiles were separate, isolated electronically, right? We had a large cabling system, sensitive information network to each missile separately that came from our capsule, underground to each missile separately. But it was triply shielded against electromagnetic interference. Again, triply shielded, highly secure from any kind of EMI. Somehow, this object was able to send that signal, or something like it, to each missile separately.
Even though it's not connected on the network or anything like that, it's not physically connected at all. It's just sending some kind of frequency signal.
But it would have had to penetrate 60 feet of earth and concrete. Remember, this thing was,
Right.
this object would have to send some signal to 60 feet of earth and concrete and then penetrate these huge cables. These were about 8 inches in diameter cables. Have to penetrate that and the redundant, the protections that it had against EMI. And then send it to this particular piece of hardware. So Boeing concluded in their investigation that they had no answer for how that could have happened. And they've documented it. And also confirmed by this Robert Kaminsky, who wrote to us. Now, the Air Force did their own investigation, which was classified. By the way, the Air Force never...
Do you think that was the investigation that Aero says led to the led Aero to believe that this was an EMP or caused by an EMP or anything like that? This separate investigation, or no?
I don't think that was the conclusion the Air Force came to.
Okay.
But this document is still classified.
Okay.
Now, the title of the document, etc., is listed in this book. We tried to get it under FOIA. The Air Force would not release it. Still classified, even though the incident is declassified. But in there, if you could get a hold of it, you should be able to get the position of the Air Force as to what the cause was. Because the crews were never debriefed on either the Echo or the Oscar incident. And we got briefed every time it went out on alert status. And we had above top secret clearances. We had very high clearances. But we never got briefed on either the investigation or what the suspected cause was. To this day, the Air Force has not commented.
Have they publicly acknowledged that it happened, but they don't know why it happened? Or they're not saying anything?
They're not saying anything.
Okay.
And I've asked many times.
And obviously, you've come forward. Of your colleagues, did anyone else come forward?
Colonel Fiegel, Colonel Mywald, who was my commander, who in 1996 I was finally able to locate and talk to. We met Henderson, Nevada. That's where he lived. We spoke about this. He wrote to me also confirming the basics. So the three of us have gone public. Again, I've got an audio tape of my conversations with Colonel Mywald, who was, by the way, a very senior officer in the Strategic Air Command by the time he finished his career. And Robert Jameson. Jameson was he was a captain at the time, head of the targeting team that went out to Oscar flight to bring all those birds back up on alert status. He confirmed that UFOs were involved because he heard it from his command structure. And he identified the date based on other things that happened March 24th that evening, including flyovers of UFOs right over Malmstrom Air Force Base, seen on radar, and including another incident, which I call the belt sighting, involving a truck driver, the highway patrol, the sheriff's department, all saw it landed in this town of Belt, Montana.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's documented in here. Why did I come forward? Again, I think I told you why. But how
you didn't even tell your wife about this.
Not for 27 years.
You kept the secret for 27 years to yourself.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I couldn't.
It was 25 years. We married in
25 years, okay.
Well, we married in 69, but 27 years from the time of the incident. Yeah.
Huh. And then were there ever moments in those 25-ish years that, or 27 years, right, where you hadn't said anything, but, the topic would come up and you felt like you really wanted to say something?
Oh, many times. That's why I couldn't wait to talk about this, because right after the incident happened, and they tried to, of course, keep us quiet about it, it was very, very strange to me, or unusual, and especially that we didn't get debriefed on the investigations that were ongoing.
Yeah, they just took your information and then they didn't tell you what was happening, which is similar to some of the testimony that we've heard,
right?
In the recent hearing,
right?
That the communication went upstream, but they never received anything back,
right,
or any direction where to go, right? What to do.
So I knew it was a cover-up, and I go into the reasons for the cover-up in this book
Oh yeah, absolutely. We wouldn't want the world to know that we couldn't turn on or off our own missiles.
Right.
That would be terrifying.
Right. And I think it's still terrifying to the DOD because I don't think they can explain it to this day. All right. There's another gentleman that might come forward if he was subpoenaed.
Okay.
I'll call him Tex.
Okay.
But Tex was a executive of an aerospace company, actually now. He's retired, but he was one of the targeting officers that went out to one of the Echo flight birds to bring it back up on alert. Mm-hmm. So he was working on doing that. I was out there at one of the launch facilities, had a security guard upstairs, and Tex was going through his checklist when the security guard motioned there was something above us, above him, and it turned out to be an orb, an orange-colored orb that was hovering above him.
Okay.
Tex goes up, takes a look, says, report it back to the base, but I got to get back to work. It's important I get the Echo flight back up on alert status.
Mm-hmm.
So as he went through his checklist and got to a point where he was about to switch everything on, bring everything back up on alert, and it shut down. He didn't know why, but he decided to go back through his checklist again. Mm-hmm. And he said he did this multiple times, but while this object was above him there, mm-hmm. it would shut down at a particular spot in that checklist, the same place.
Okay.
Each time. He said he tried it many times until that orange ball of light left. He couldn't bring the missiles back up. Okay. Which told him and informs me that they knew in great detail. Whoever is controlling these things, know in great detail how our systems operate, our missile systems. And again, that was proven in Russia by that incident too. Yeah. They knew in great detail how those things operate. And they could, at will, disable them or activate them. So based on that, knowing that happened, and they haven't done anything to destroy us or to cause, so what does that lead you to believe? Do you ever try to speculate what is the intention? Yes, here? I have, sir. I'm sorry to admit this is speculation, but because of the many incidents. Well, you haven't talked to them yet. You haven't been able to talk to them. You don't know firsthand why they do. No, I don't. In this book, I've identified 13 incidents. Oh, really? Yes. Where UFOs have flown over nuclear weapons storage facilities or have actually shut down missiles. And those are identified in here with witness names. But at each time, again, there was no damage done to the weapon systems. They were trying to send us a message. And what could that message be but get rid of these damn things? They are not going to be used as weapons of war, because if they were, the result would be annihilation, right, of our civilization if we had a true nuclear war. So what's the real purpose? The real purpose is deterrence, right? And that's one of the reasons the DOD does not want people like me speaking publicly about this, because deterrence is the very basis of our national security. The DOD publishes nuclear posture review about every 2 years, and they make that statement clear. Nuclear weapons or nuclear deterrence is the basis of our national security. They don't want to hear any talk about abolishing nuclear weapons. Even though under the Obama administration, I hate to bring a Democrat up, but under the Obama administration, under the new, what is it called? New START Treaty,
Mm-hmm.
the U.S. and Russia signed a declaration that they would have that as an objective, getting down to zero nukes, working together through inspections and the whole thing.
Interesting.
So I think that is the message, but again, it's just speculation.
That's all we can do at this point is speculate.
Right. Right.
Wow, what a story. Really appreciate it. And, it took a lot of courage to come forward, and just like the people that have come forward today. So now, having done this, and you, do you recognize the legacy that you've kind of created, because you're one of the first ones to come forward, and now you're seeing more and more people stepping in.
Yeah.
Courage is contagious. You created that path, and you have inspired so many other people to come forward.
I have, and I failed to mention a man by the name of David Schindel, who in 1966 was stationed at Minot Air Force Base, again, a nuclear missile base. In 1966, he goes in to relieve a crew, but as he arrives at the facility, the security guards upstairs tell him about what happened the previous evening. And again, object comes over and shuts down their 10 missiles. This is documented. Again, the witnesses, the crew on duty at the time have been identified. They're still living. They could be brought to testify. Of course, Mr. Schindelli is willing to testify also. But within this span, that happened September of 66.
Okay.
Ours happened in March of 67. Within the span of 6 months, we have UFOs disabling at each incident 10 missiles. So within the span of 6 months, we lost 30 missiles during UFO incidents.
Wow.
30. That should be a headline.
That's unbelievable. Well, thank you again. Thank you for, stepping forward, stepping in the light. And, I think I've said this often that this topic is so important that it's not for this U.S. government to hold on to, or any government to maintain or control and keep from its citizens or the people of Earth, whether or not we're alone. And I think that it's taken people like you to step forward and really help everybody. And I can't thank you enough. So
Thank you, sir.
appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.